Okay, and here's the back of their card. So yeah, these were sent to me today, and it looks like they serve the entire state of Texas, all 254 Texas counties and the 50 states. So I guess anytime you see a process server that's able to serve that wide range of people or jurisdictions, that is something to take note of. So I thought I'd pass that along. Once again, that is ATX Process LLC, and it doesn't look like they have a... Okay, yeah, their website is www.atxprocess.com. So I may try them out myself and get back to you and tell you what I think. But like I said, this is not an endorsement. This is just something that came in the mail for me today, and I just thought it was something interesting to share. You may remember me talking about moving downstairs after spending the last 3 years in a boxer work style. Now keep in mind, this isn't a big office, and it's really just for me and maybe like a receptionist, but it'll get the job done. So can you see how big? This is so much bigger than what I had before. So much bigger. It's crazy. I mean, this room alone right here is bigger than my office was the past 3 years. So this alone is huge. And then I'm getting this right here, this additional office space right here for window. There are outlets, it looks like, on every wall except this one. I'm gonna have to put a couch in here. I thought about putting something in here like for kids, like for when my kids come over here, or when people come in with their kids, like having some type of like toy area or something like right there so that they can kind of chill out. I got a piece of art that I think I'm gonna put right there, or either over here. This is a big wall. These are big walls. So I gotta figure all this out. But I'm truly excited about this because, like I said, this is bigger than the office that I've been in for 3 years. And I mean, I used conference rooms and stuff, but it's nothing compared to this. I mean, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is the beginning. And the funny thing about all this is that, you know, I've only really been, I've been practicing personal injury law for a little while now, but I didn't like completely dedicate myself to just like, I'm going to be a PI lawyer until like maybe October 2017. Well, at least that's when I made that vlog in Galveston, and I said that, hey, I'm going to do personal injury. That's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to let this criminal stuff go. And everybody told me I was crazy, and maybe I still am, you know, but I think it's going to work out. I really do. I think it's going to work out. This room is so big, my voice is vibrating off the walls, you know. My office is like half the size of this. This is crazy, man. Well, I mean, I will say this. In the boxer work style, you do kind of get amenities that you don't get otherwise. Because, like, for instance, like in this office, I have to pay for my internet. Up there in the boxer work style, the internet is free. You know, you have conference rooms up there. You got conference rooms up there that you can use, but you got conference rooms down here too. But I'm glad to be moving up, man. It's about time. I found my calling. That's all I can really say. That's all I can really say is I finally found my space. I found my spot. Because I did criminal law, like I said. I could give you stories all about that type of stuff, and it ain't nothing nice, you know. I've tried family law. I did one family law case, and I was like, man, family lawyers are even more cutthroat than criminal lawyers, to a large extent. I mean, because you think about it, like, those people have to really like to argue to a certain extent. Because when it comes to people's kids and divorces and all that, man, civility goes out the door. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's not the same with this type of stuff, but it's just different. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe because I've dealt with the loss of loved ones, I can kind of relate more to people grieving and stuff like that. So maybe that's why I realized that this was the area for me. But I don't know. This is exciting though. I'm super excited, and I have all these ideas about what to do in this office, and I just gotta go ahead and do it. I'm gonna take this weekend and get some help and get some things going. But I didn't realize this. I didn't realize this office was this big. I mean, as far as like, I'm gonna need like a couch. I already have a desk to put in here, and some chairs. But I need to find like a little table. I need some plants. I got some bookcases, but I'm gonna need some more bookcases from my office back there. And I got a standing desk at home. I'm gonna pack up that standing desk and bring that on in here. Yeah, I think I could bring that standing desk in. I just don't know whether I'm gonna put it against the window. Am I gonna put this standing desk against the window, or am I gonna put it against the wall over here? Because I think the thing about it is, this room might be the same size as my office. This looks like it's about the same size as my office. But I think the thing is I want to make something in here set up so that I can just like put this down. I can put this camera down like this. I can put the camera down like this, and I can shoot maybe exactly like this. I mean, obviously not with me sitting on the ground and not the camera down like that, but I want to be able to be at my desk or be over here on a couch, get on a couch or something like that, and just shoot and talk at the same time. So I think that'll be pretty cool. But this journey has been crazy, man. I thought I was gonna move downtown, but the thing about moving downtown was that the place that I found, they wanted to give me like an office probably the size of that front room in there, and then charge me, I mean, it wasn't a lot, but I just felt like it didn't feel right. I'm pretty excited about this. I can't deny it. I'm really excited, honestly. Got a great deal on it, and I'm still over here on Highway 290. I haven't left this area. I thought about it. I seriously did. Thought about it, but I think I can do some damage with this. I mean, I think I could potentially divide this into 2 sections, but I don't think I'm gonna have to do all that. But I can decorate this and make it look really nice. I know I can. And I just need to go ahead and find someone part-time or something that is willing to come over here and staff this office while I am out working. But it's pretty big, and I'm enjoying it. I really like it. So I guess this ends this portion of the vlog. And we'll go ahead and get to the accident reconstruction portion. All right, here we are today talking about accident reconstruction in commercial vehicles. The thing that you need to understand about accident reconstruction is that you pretty much need one in most cases when you're dealing with truck accidents. But the thing about it too is that you need to also understand the principles underlying their reports yourself, or you won't really be able to properly communicate that to a jury. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So an accident reconstructionist is going to basically do a few things for you. Number one, they're going to download the ECM. The ECM is like the black box in the airplane. It has all the data on there. It'll tell you the speed at the time of the collision. It can tell you when the brakes were applied and all kind of wonderful things. all kind of nice little goodies in the ECM module or ECM piece for you. So you always want to get your accident reconstructionist to download the ECM. The other things that you want them to do is they're going to go out to the scene and they're going to survey that scene. They're going to inspect that scene and the resulting wreckage, because looking at that stuff, they're going to be able to determine, he or she is going to be able to determine whether or not the other party was at fault, and a variety of other things. The other thing is they're going to create models for a jury to examine at trial. Okay? When they go out to the accident or wreckage scene, they're going to take a look at everything, and they're going to draw up a diagram, and they're going to be able to, off of that diagram they draw up, create models of what they believe happened at the time. And then the last thing that they're going to do for you in your case is they're going to either testify in a deposition or at trial, and that's where they'll spill the beans. Besides their reports, that's where they'll testify live and state what were the causes and the consequences of the resulting wreck. So, like I said before, unless you know that you're going to be able to settle the case, unless it's clear liability on the part of the trucker, you're probably going to have to get an accident reconstructionist involved, especially if it's a multi-vehicle accident and there are significant injuries involved, or there's really a question of liability. That's really where an accident reconstructionist comes into play. A question of liability and your inability to properly come to some type of resolution with the opposing party when it comes to the damage model. So, moving right along, the next thing we want to talk about is skid marks and physical evidence at the scene. So, when it comes to road marks, it differs depending on where you are in America, but I would say road marks disappear within a week's time on average. But here in Houston, because of the fact that we have so much traffic on the roads, they probably will disappear even earlier than that a lot of times. And given the fact too, it depends on the season, because obviously when it's really wet outside and it's raining and it's flooding all the time, those road marks, those skid marks are not going to remain very long. The only time that usually you're going to see road marks or skid marks out on the road or at the point of impact, collision or whatnot, braking, the only time you're probably going to see those still hanging around is when you're out in like a really rural area. Okay, so basically, sorry about that. So basically, you want to be able to try to go out there and get those skid marks as soon as possible, because if you don't, like I said, they're going to be gone. Now, skid marks can provide you with a few different things as far as information. They can provide you information about when the service parking brakes of the tractor trailer were applied. They can tell you about the initial impact between the vehicles, like the point of impact. They can tell you the speed traveled before the collision. And an accident reconstructionist should take photos of all the physical evidence on the road, the fields, wherever the accident took place. They're going to take photos. They're going to capture all of that evidence for you, so you can present that at trial if need be. And if you're not going to present it at trial, then you can present it in the settlement demand. I said before that when they take those photos, and what they're going to do is they're going to create a scaled diagram. So, I know it might sound kind of cheesy that I like trucks, I like models and stuff like that, but one reason I like those is because I've always been amazed by like architects and reconstructionists, people who are able to take a much bigger scope of things and make a miniature version of it. That to me is pretty amazing, and that's what accident reconstructionists can do with models and whatnot. They can use computer models and all other types of things to use at trial. If there's more than a month since that accident has occurred, there's pretty much no need for the accident reconstructionist to rush out to the scene, because you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that none of the stuff that you want to see it's still going to be there. It's still going to remain there. Like I said before, the only way that something like that would have happened is if you were in a really rural area and no one traveled down those roads ever, for the most part. But in the city of Houston and surrounding areas, Katy, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, all these places, those skid marks aren't going to be there anymore. The other thing I wanted to talk about as far as that is that now the accident reconstructionist does need to go out to the scene if there is going to be some type of significant change in that area, on that roadway, coming up pretty soon. So let's say that the accident happened today, and it's in the middle of a construction zone, and these guys are building roads up that way, or changing the sidewalks up, or doing anything. You want to get out there and get photos of that stuff before it changes over, because it's easier to show a jury a picture of something than it is to try to paint a picture in someone's mind, because we have to always remember that, like I said before, everyone is not imaginative like that. Everyone can't necessarily see things like that. Some people are very literal beings, so they need something in front of them to understand what is going on. Also, you want to get the accident reconstructionist to go out there if there's a speed limit that's going to change or something like that. Maybe the speed limit at that time was 50 miles an hour and the tractor trailer driver was driving 65, and now they're about to boost the speed limit up to 70. This is an example. So the next thing I want to talk about is the area of impact. Now there are two ways to determine the area of impact. And when I say the area of impact, what I'm talking about is the car, the passenger car, the tractor trailer hitting one another, rear end collision, or rear end collision on the tractor trailer, under ride accident. I'm talking about when they collide at some point. Okay? Now there are two ways to determine this. Number one is the gouge mark. The gouge mark is basically, if you've ever been on an accident scene and seen that big scuff in the ground, or where the car seemed to lose a bunch of oil at, and it's a bunch of scratches on the ground or something, that is the gouge mark. That is where the two vehicles collided, and we all know that if two pieces of metal run into each other, they pretty much are the same kind of metal. One of them is going to have to bend the other way or bend down. So obviously a lot of times it's going to be the passenger vehicle. And so that gouge mark takes place when the cars or the vehicles meet, and the tractor trailer goes up top and the passenger car goes downward, and it scuffs the ground up. It lets you know exactly where they met. The other way to determine the area of impact is the debris field. Now that isn't really like a very accurate way to determine the area of impact, but the debris field will kind of give you a general range of where these vehicles met, how did they collide, where did they spin out at, because you're going to look at the broken glass that's on the ground and how it was, where it went. You're going to look at the rubber. You're going to look at the metal from the cars and whatnot, and it's going to give you an idea, that if they hit like this and they spin, you're going to be able to look at that metal and the glass on the ground and everything and tell exactly how did they collide, when did they collide, and stuff like that. And an accident reconstructionist is going to do that for you. The next thing is lights on the vehicle. So what I mean by that is when you have a tractor trailer accident and there's a question as to did the parties have their lights on so that they were visible to the other people on the road, or the same thing can be said for a car. Now the way that you're going to determine whether or not the lights were on is that it depends on the type of light. Okay, if it's an LED light, you're not going to be able to figure out, for the most part, whether the lights were on or off. But if it was a halogen light, electric light, they're going to have filaments in them, and the filaments are going to be able to tell you, if you know how to study the filaments will be able to tell you whether or not the lights were on at the time of the accident. So that's just something to think about. But a good reconstructionist should know how to tell you if the lights were on during the collision. Okay. Okay, there were three other things that I kind of wanted to jump into. Okay, as far as accident reconstruction, and I'm not going to go too deep into this stuff because these things I want to make their own. I'm going to make their own episode because they're just that important. But the next thing is the electronic control module, and I talked about that earlier. It's the ECM on the black box, and your accident reconstructionist, if they can't do anything else for you, they ought to be able to get the information downloaded off of the black box or the ECM for you, and it gives you all kind of information, and they should be able to interpret the data for you. That's the purpose of an accident reconstructionist in all of this. The second thing is that's going to tell you really what was going on at the time of the accident, besides the ECM that it involves data, is the airbag module. The airbag module, it will come on when the airbag has been activated by a collision between the two vehicles. Now, it's not always going to come on right away. It's not always going to come on at the first impact. But it will be able to tell you within generally 5 seconds of the time that it was awoken, how fast they were traveling, when the brakes were applied, and things of that nature. So you got your ECM and you got your airbag module, and those are ways to kind of determine the speed and the braking and all that computer-wise. But before we had all these computers and everything, you had to do it the old-fashioned way, the old basic way. So I haven't really dealt with too much math since like physics AP, but this is the old school way. When you use the speed distance analysis, and this is basically speed equals the square root of 30 times the distance times the coefficient of friction. Yeah, that's a lot. Speed, how fast a person was traveling, equals 30 times the distance times the coefficient of friction. So the coefficient of friction is basically the friction on the roadway. That's what that means. Okay, and it's generally accepted at this point in time that highway asphalt has a general coefficient of friction between somewhere of 0.70 to 0.75. So that's going to generally be the friction on the roadway. It's going to be somewhere in between all of that. So when you're talking to a reconstructionist, they don't know all this, then that's not someone you want to employ. Distance equals it's calculated from the time the brakes are applied until the time the vehicle comes to a halt. So when it comes to the distance, we're not talking about from the time that the truck driver pressed the gas from the green light. We're talking about from the time that the brakes were applied until the truck actually came to a complete stop. Okay, that distance, and that will give you the speed. All of this. Okay. The other thing and the last thing that I want to talk about is perception and reaction times. When you combine the perception and reaction time formulas with the speed and distance analysis formulas, it gives you a much wider view of really what happened on the roads. So when we're talking about perception and reaction time, what we're talking about is when did the person see that there was a threat, and how long did it take their body to react to it. Now, generally speaking, when you're talking about someone in a passenger vehicle, it takes 1.5 seconds to see a threat and respond to it. It takes 1 second to perceive the threat. It takes a half a second to react by putting your foot on the brake pedal to stop. Now, in a 18-wheeler or a commercial motor vehicle case, for a tractor trailer, it's 1.75 seconds to react to all this. And that's because it still has the 1 second to perceive, the half a second to react, but it gives an extra a quarter of a second is attributable to the air brake system, because once they put their foot on that gas, on the brake, the air brake system is not going to work instantaneously from the time that they put their foot down. It's going to take a quarter of a second before the truck actually reacts to them stopping the truck. The last thing is that reenactments may be necessary for certain types of wrecks, visibility situations, underride situations. Those reenactments may be necessary for those types of situations. This wraps up today's CLE overview of Accident Reconstruction 101 and Commercial Vehicle Law. And I will see you guys tomorrow with another topic. Take it easy.